How are you doing today? I'm so tired, I'm so sleepy. My back is hurting. I slept 6 hours. Here. Yeah, but still I'm sleepy. 11.4. We are done with 11.56. Well, if we sleep continuously for 6 hours, it's fine. But you know what happens? Every 1 or 2 hours I wake up. And then every 1 or 2 hours I wake up. Like, I hate that when I wake up and it takes few minutes to go back to sleep and then wake up again and then go to sleep again. I hate that. That's why it doesn't matter how long I sleep, I'm always sleeping. It's annoying. Anyway, our exam is next Tuesday. Good news, I did a very good video with my morning class yesterday. I'm going to post that video today and also I'm going to send you the link. It will be on the YouTube, but still I'm going to send you the link in case you have no idea how our YouTube recording starts. And we are almost done with 11.4. This is 11.4. We have two questions with quadratic, and then we have probably 3 questions about rational. And then we will be done with 11.4 and all the materials we need for exam 2. Okay. So this exam doesn't have any word problem, so you don't need any calculator. It will be just like exam 1. The whole class period will have only part 1, no calculator. I did not make the exam yet, but I'll tell you at the end what I'm planning to put in the exam. Cool.
Not going to be multiple choice, right?
Probably 1 or 2 multiple choice. Around 11 with multiple parts. Around 11 questions with multiple parts. Any other question before we start? Also, don't stop doing your homework and quizzes on MyMathLab. Okay? They are very important. They are 20% of the grade. 19%. 19 and 20 almost same. They are 20% of the grade. So if you want to pass this class, especially with a decent grade like B or A, you must need the help of MyMathLab. So you must do all the homework and quiz with as high score as possible.
What happens if it's late?
I'm going to open them, but it will be your downside because you may not be able to complete all the homework and quizzes.
If I do it late, it's still the same.
From my side, I actually don't see any penalty, but for some reason, you guys get the penalty. But on the setting, I saw no penalty. I don't know why they deduct 10%.
Maybe just warning us, like you should do on time, but anyway, not even.
I don't assign any penalty. Like I did not assign that on MyMathLab. So all the setting I see on MyMathLab, it doesn't say anything about 10% penalty. It says no penalty. But for some reason, when it's late, you guys get 10% penalty. 10% points taken off, right? It still does that.
Didn't check.
I played with the setting a lot after I learned that, but still, I did not find anything that says you get 10% penalty, but you still do.
You should just extend the date for the end of the course so it doesn't do that. That's like, that could be the fix, but I don't know.
I will try, but I did it before, and then I got into trouble with the department.
Oh, sorry.
They said, they told me I was supposed to give the extension to last year class. So I have to put deadline for like in every few months. I have to give the deadline every few weeks. So that's why I put deadline there. So as long as department doesn't look at my account, I will be safe. But once they did, I got into trouble. So that's why I'm kind of scared of doing that. Yeah. Okay. 11.4 talks about inequality, and we did couple examples in our last class. And there are two rules I mentioned. If the inequality doesn't have an equal sign, all the numbers at infinity get parentheses. But if the inequality has an equal sign, the number gets a bracket and infinity always gets parentheses. Infinity gets parentheses because infinity is not a number, it's a symbol. So we don't know how to replace x with infinity because that's a number. And if we cannot replace a number with x, that means it's parentheses. And we did few examples. I showed you two ways of solving them. The easiest one is using parabola, and the other one is using table.
Infinity is always in parentheses, right? Not possible.
Not in this class. In future, when you take higher level math, then yes. But in this class, no. And we are going to start with this example. The same concept, our goal is to solve for x, but when you solve for x, we don't get one number, we get an interval of numbers. So whenever we solve, what do you want to see in one side? We want to see 0, because that makes our life easier. Since we don't see 0, so our first step, we bring everything to one side. So we get x squared plus 3x minus 10 less than or equals 0. Less than or equals 0 means what you're looking for, positive or negative? Less than 0. What do we have for less than 0? Negative. So you're looking for something negative. And our inequality has an equal sign. So what would be the boundary for the numbers? Parentheses or bracket? Bracket. And we know it's a parabola because our highest degree is x squared here. What type of parabola we have? Upward or upside down? Upward. So we have a parabola that is upward, and you're looking for the side which is below x-axis, negative. Because our x squared is positive. If x squared is positive, it's upward. X squared is negative, it's downward.
But aren't you solving for x? So if it's negative,
I will.
don't you have to make it positive either way?
Yeah, but the original equation tells us what the shape of the parabola. So in this parabola, we are looking for a negative side of the parabola. So negative side of the parabola means downside below the x-axis. Our y is negative here. So we are looking for this portion. The problem is we have no idea what these two numbers are, right? We don't know what the x-intercepts are. So what do we do? With the parabola, with the quadratic equation? Factor. So can you think of two numbers, multiply to 10, combine to 3, 5 and 2? How about the signs? 45, negative 2. So when you solve for x-intercept, we set each of them equal 0, and we get x is negative 5 and positive 2. So what is the left number here? Negative 5. And the right number? 2. So what is our solution? From 5 to 2 with brackets. See? If you use parabola, no math is needed. No table is needed.
But these like the equations where you have to like, like
Number line. So we use number line for all the questions, but when it's quadratic, You don't have to. Because of the shape. We already know the shape. For other functions, we don't know the shape of the graph. So when you don't know what graph we are going to get from the equation, we have to use the number line to see which one gives us positive and negative. But here we do know.
We know the shape of x squared.
Because our x squared is the highest degree. I have a question. Are you found that we need that it's from 5 to 2? When whatever we have above the x-axis, that's the positive. Whatever we have below the x-axis, let me change the color. That's the negative part. Because y is positive, this thing is below the y value. So our y is positive on the upside, it's negative on the bottom side. And it says we are looking for all the y's that we are looking for all the x value that makes the y less than or equal 0. Means either less than 0 here or equal 0 means the x-intercepts. So from -5 to 2, including those, if you replace any number here in this equation for x, all the y you're going to get will be negative or 0. For example, between them we have 0, right? So replace 0 here. 0 plus 5, 0 minus 2, so 5 minus 5 times -2, we get -1. See, they told us any number you replace from here for your x, the y you're going to get, all the y's will be negative. Because they told us here, look for the -1. Find all the x values that makes the y negative. So y is negative on this side. Negative or 0. We have two scenarios, either less than 0 or equal 0. So find all the x values for which a y value will be either 0 or less than 0. So y will be 0 when exactly x is -5 and 2. And between every number, whole number, decimal, any number between them, if you replace the x here, then y will be negative. Okay, you try one. And for this one, you choose AC method. The factor. You forgot the AC method?
No, I forgot. I remember.
True. Since our x squared is not alone and we cannot divide everything by -4, that means it's AC method.
What happened?
AC, it means you multiply A with the C. No, here is direct factor. From here we factor directly, it becomes AC. But now you choose AC method because our x squared is not alone and we cannot divide all the numbers by the value. Yes, you can. If you want to use perfect formula, no problem, go ahead. -4x², -4x minus 1 greater than 0. Oh, before that, let's do something. Here we have negative in the front. We don't want that. We don't like that, right? Negative x². So if you want, you can make this -4x² and positive 4x². How? We can multiply everything by -1. So we are going to get positive 4x squared, positive 4x, positive 1, and 0.
That changes.
Wonderful. Oh, is it parabola? Well, when you draw the parabola, either you can use this one or you can use the original one. It's up to you. But before that, let me ask you a question. We know that 7 is bigger than 1, right? 7 is bigger than 1. Now, if we multiply both sides by negative number, by negative, we get -7 and -1, right? Is it still true? No. See, it's not true anymore. The inequality changed because we multiply by negative. -7 is smaller than -1. So what will happen here? The inequality will change its side. Here we said this is bigger than 0, but since we multiply by negative, so this thing is actually smaller. So inequality flips its sign. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, inequality always flips. Why? Because of this. When something is bigger than another thing, it becomes reverse the other way around if you multiply the by negative. Okay. Now, since most of you guys don't remember AC method, let me refresh your memory with the AC method. We have A and C, so we multiply A with the C. And we get 4 times 1, which is 4. Can you think of two numbers multiply to 4, combine to also 4? 3 and 2. So we rewrite the middle term with 2x plus 2x. 2x plus 2x gives us 4x, the middle term. AC method, the goal behind AC method is to rewrite 3 terms in 4 terms. Why? Because when you have 4 terms, we can group them 2 by 2. So we keep our first term, we keep our last term, but we rewrite our middle one term into 2 middle terms so that we can group them.
Foil beds,
What do you mean by FOIL?
like, well,
What do you want to multiply?
I don't know.
In order to FOIL, we have to add 2 vectors. We don't have 2 vectors. We have everything expanded. Our goal is to convert the expanded version into factored form. So in the first group, do you see anything in common?
Yes, yes.
2x. So we pull it out. What remains?
That's plus 1.
2x plus 1. Then you go to the second group. What do you see common in second group? Nothing. When you have nothing, we take out 1 as a common factor. Nothing means it's 1. So we have still the same thing. And we still have our 2 groups. In both groups, do you see something in common?
2x plus 1.
So we pull out 2x plus 1. And then what remains in both groups? 2x plus 1. So we have the exact same thing twice.
We'll get the one.
So we have 2x plus 1 squared. Since our goal is to solve for x, so we set that equals 0. Take the square root, we get 2x plus 1, 0. We subtract 1. 2x is negative 1. What do we do in our last step? Divide by 2. So x is negative 1/2. You have two choices now. Pick three choices. Either use the table and then figure out what is happening, or use this as your new equation, or use this as the original equation. You're gonna get the same answer. Let's say I am gonna use, or I want to use this as my new equation. This equation and the original equation, they are same. So if I use this equation and I don't want to use table, I want to use my graph because it's simpler. We know we have an x-intercept at negative 1/2. So that is our x-intercept. So what kind of parabola you're going to draw? Upward or upside down? Upward. Upward. So how are you going to draw an upward parabola that has only one x-intercept? How are you going to draw that? If you want to draw, you have to draw from that point. Right? So there is one way you can draw a parabola with one x-intercept by having the vertex on the x-axis. One of these will bring the test. You don't want to graph, you have a table method. But yeah, you have to graph one parabola. Not this one probably, but there is one parabola you're going to graph. You're going to find vertex, x-intercept, y-intercept, everything, and then graph. Okay. Now observe what you're looking for. Our parabola must be what? 0 or no? Do I have an equal sign? Oh. We don't have equal sign, right? So this is saying that we are looking for strictly negative. Everything has to be strictly negative. If you don't understand the parabola, no problem. I'm going to show you the table. But with the parabola, you can see what's happening. So do you see the graph? Any portion of the graph is lying strictly below your x-axis? No, right? So what's the answer? Not undefined, no solution. Yep. Because there is no portion of the graph that has a negative y value. Here, we don't have any negative y value. We don't have any graph here. Because our graph did not have that shape. The graph was downward. Because we have two x-intercepts. But this has only one x-intercept. So graph cannot lie down below that axis. Okay, if you have no idea what is happening with the graph, no problem. Let's go to the traditional method. Second method. We know our equation is 2x plus 1 square less than 0. we have negative infinity, positive infinity, and somewhere we have negative 1/2. Actually, you can also use logic. It says the quantity square has to be less than 0. Means quantity square has to be negative. Can you think of anything when it's square it becomes negative? No. So automatically you can see there is no solution. Because there is no number you can replace here, and then square it and it will become negative. Anytime you square something, automatically it becomes positive or 0. So it doesn't have any solution without even doing any math. But anyway, most of the people don't like to use logic. They like to do math. So let's show you some math. What number you want to pick that is smaller than negative 1/2? Any number smaller than negative 1/2? Negative 1. And you replace there. 2x plus 1 squared is 2 times negative 1 plus 1 squared. That gives us negative 2 plus 1 squared. That gives us negative 1 squared, which is positive 1. So this is positive. We cannot take positive because you're looking for negative. This means negative. Strictly negative, not even 0. Strictly negative. What do you want to pick that is bigger than negative 1/2? X equals 5. So we have 2 times 5 plus 1 whole thing square. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 1 square. That gives us 11 square. That is definitely positive. Again, they're positive. So we cannot take it. It means no number you can replace with x that will give you something negative. This quantity is never negative. But if I modify this question, and if I say, what if your question is 2x plus 1 squared is less than or equal 0? That time, do you still have no solution? What do you have this time?
0 or
So this means either less than 0 means negative or equal 0. So can you find any x value that makes thing either equal 0 or less than 0? Either one of them. So we already found that there is no x that makes it negative. But is there any x that makes it equal 0? When x is 0, it's 1 square. 1, not 0. So can you think of any x that makes this whole thing 0? Yeah, you already found it before. When x is negative 1/2, this thing is 0. So this time we do have a solution. This is our solution. X equals negative 1. For inequality, you have to see. If you have an equal sign, that means you're looking for either something that makes the whole thing equal 0 or bigger than 0 or less than 0, depending on what sign. Building on that concept, you have a kind of weird polynomial here. Solve it, it's easy. I see. Do the number line. X intersect. Yeah. It's definitely not parabola because our highest degree is x squared. It's 2, 3, 4. We have x to the 4th power polynomial. So we don't know its k. You must do number line. It is already factored. So all you have to do is from each factor, find out your x value. Solve for x from each of the these vectors. Once you have them, place them on the number line. You have x squared, so you set it x squared equals 0, you solve for x. The next one is x plus 1, you set x plus 1 equals 0, and you solve for x. Next one, x minus 5 is 0, that x gives you something. So you solve for x 3 times, and you're going to get all these numbers here, here, here. And this time you have an equal sign. It means they are looking for something bigger than 0, means strictly positive, or they are looking for all the numbers that makes it 0. What is 0 squared? Means 0 times 0. What is 0 times 0? 2 0. You put them on the number line, and then you take one number from each interval. And remember, you're observing two things. What makes the expression positive and what makes the expression equals 0. You're going to include all of them in the solution. I'm just looking to the numbers, between them 5, from 5 to 50? Yes. Pick any number. 5. You cannot take 5 because 5 is the
Okay.
bottom of 6.
Yes, because we get smaller than 5, all the answers is negative. But we should have the positive answer. Or
No, should not. Everything depends on the graph. Just because all this time you see in one positive, one negative, one positive, one negative, it doesn't mean it's the case for all of them. No. That's why it's kind of weird. Ryan, why are you thinking? How come you're not writing anything? Something new. How come you're not writing anything? You're done already? What do you have? Right. Oh, question? About what? That means you're not going to take this interval. Whatever doesn't work, you don't take that interval. Not always. So from here we get 0, from here we get -1, from here we get 5. So the three numbers we have is -1, 0, and 5. Right?
Yep.
Now we go to each interval and pick something. What do we have less than -1? -2. And we plug in the big one. -2 squared, -2 + 1, -2 - 5. 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 - 5 - 2 - 5. 2 Again, we don't care about the numbers, we care about the sign. If you square negative, what sign you get? 4 positive. Right. Here, 2 is bigger as a negative sign, it will be negative. They both are negative, and so it has to be negative. So we have a plus here, a minus here, a minus here. When you multiply all three, what do you get? Positive. And what we are looking for? Equals 0. So we are going to take this interval in the solution. All the numbers in this interval, if you replace them here, your outcome will be positive. Then you go to the next interval. We don't have any whole number. What numbers we have from 0 to -1? Negative 1/2 or 0.5. Like bigger. Negative 0.5. So we have negative 0.5 square, negative 0.5 plus 1, negative 0.5 minus 5. Negative square always gives us positive. Second one is positive because our 1 is positive, 1 is bigger. No, last one is negative because we are subtracting two negatives. So when you multiply, we get negative. So we're not going to take this. Then we have any number between 0 to 5. So I don't have much space, so let me squeeze it here. 2 square, 2 plus 1, 2 minus 5. 2 square is positive. 2 plus 1, also positive. 2 minus 5, negative. So when you multiply, the result is negative. So we also cannot take this interval. That means from -1 to 5, we cannot take any number besides 0. Why we can take 0? Because 0 is equal to 0. When x is 0, the whole thing becomes 0. And C says, find all the numbers that give us either positive or equal 0. So in this interval, none of the numbers gives 0. So none of the numbers gives negative, but there's only one number that gives us 0. So we are going to take this in our solution. -1 is inside this portion. From -1 to 5, we cannot take anything except 0. Now from 5 to infinity, we are going to see what happens. So it's here. Anything bigger than 5? 6. So we have 6 square, and I don't have space, so let me write downward. 6 plus 1 and 6 minus 5. 6 square, what do you get? Positive. 6 plus 1, positive. 6 minus 5, positive. So all three things we have here are positive. So if you multiply them, we get positive. And we are happy because we are going to take, what happened? we are going to take this interval in our solution. So our solution consists of two big intervals and one a single number. So if you write them from smallest to the biggest, we have negative infinity to -1. Negative infinity gets parentheses. How about -1? Bracket. Union. Then we take 0, but 0 is a single number. For a single number, we use curly bracket. Since 0 is a single number, so use curly bracket. And then we go to the last interval. From 5 to infinity. Infinity is parentheses, but 5, bracket. That's why I said this is a weird looking polynomial, because we have a singleton in our solution, a single set instead of a whole set. I'm going to ask one of these as extra credit.
Okay. Like where you put it.
It doesn't matter, but when you write the solution, you're supposed to write from smallest to the biggest. So it should be between them. Technically, it doesn't have any problem, but mathematically, it's not quite correct. Any question? Well, I actually did not face any of these questions in my entire life. Okay, I never seen this until last summer. Last summer, I took a class at Columbia, which talked about which question we never teach to our students. And they introduced us to this question. I was like, cool, I actually never seen that. I did so many inequality in my life, but I never had a solution like this. So I found it really fascinating, really interesting. So that's why I'm showing you here. You may not find this type of question in homework. Homework has easy question like the other ones. But it's interesting. So I'm going to put one of these in the exam as an extra credit. With this, we are done with polynomial. Now we are going to do the same thing with rational. So rational means we have a numerator and denominator. Top over bottom. If we have this, we call it rational. Means fraction. Anytime we have some type of fraction, it's a rational. So this time we are doing rational inequality. And as long as you have x on either one of them, you're going to take that equals to make it equal to 0. If you don't have any x, we ignore that. For example, you may not have any x on the top, so ignore the top. You only look at the bottom. And if you don't have any x on the bottom, we ignore the bottom, you only look at the top. So whatever doesn't have any x, we ignore that. If it does have an x, we work with that. And the difference between a rational and a non-rational is that in non-rational, we had only top, we factored it, we set it equal to 0, we found our x. We're doing the same thing here. We're going to look at the top, we're going to factor that, we set it equal to 0, we get the number line. Also, we're going to look at the bottom. We know bottom cannot have what? 0. So whatever we have at the bottom, we set it not equal to 0, and we solve for x. Then we place it on the number line as well. And we look at each interval individually. So bottom, since we cannot have the result from the bottom, so bottom always has parentheses. Always. It doesn't matter what kind of inequality you have. Bigger than or equal, less than or equal, it doesn't matter. The bottom always get parentheses, just like infinity. But the top follows the rule we learned before. If you have an equal sign, top gets bracket. If you don't have the equal sign, top gets parentheses. So these are the rules. For numerator only, the same rule as before. No equal sign means parentheses. We do have equal sign means bracket. Only for the top. For Baruch and for denominator and plus minus infinity. We always use parentheses. We don't care what inequality we have. Denominator must get parentheses. We studied an easy problem. Our numerator, does it have any x? So you're going to ignore the numerator because it doesn't have any x. We go to the denominator. And we set the denominator not equal 0 because we don't want the denominator to be 0. That gives us what number? We don't want x to be what number? -7. And what we are looking for? What is less than 0? Positive or negative? Negative. So you're looking for a negative portion of this function, and we cannot have -7 in the solution. So -7 will get parentheses. And whatever we get, we're going to see which portion before -7 or after -7. Which portion gives us something negative? Because when x is -7, our denominator turns into 0. So when x is -7, you have -7 plus 7 is 0, because 7 over 0 doesn't exist. So for rational, we must use number line. What number you want to pick that is left of -7? -8. So we have 7 over -8 plus 7. That gives us something positive on the top and negative on the bottom. So if you divide a positive by a negative, and we get negative. And what we are looking for? Negative. So you're lucky. The first interval gives us what we are looking for. Then you go to the next and last. What number you want to pick that is bigger than -7? Let's pick 0. It will make our life easier. We have 7 over 0 plus 7. So plus over. The answer is. So can you take this interval? So what is our solution? Both will get parentheses. Because we don't want -7 in our solution. We cannot replace x with -7. Simple, right? We do the exact same thing what we did so far. The only difference is we're going to do it twice. Once for the top, once for the bottom. But here we did not do on the top because top doesn't have any x. What do you think faster here? From your previous experience, what should be faster here? We want to see a 0. We don't have a 0. So, step 1, subtract x, add 2. So it got 6 over x plus 3 minus x plus 2 bigger than 0. We cannot solve for x if we cannot combine them. So we must combine them together, and then we solve for x from the top and from the bottom. So we have a fraction and non-fraction. What do we need to combine them? Same denominator. And again, we are lucky. We have only one denominator. We want that denominator here and here. So we'll put the denominator here. But can you simply put the denominator on the denominator? We also put it on the numerator. And now we are very happy. All of them have the same thing on the denominator. So that makes us lazy. We write the denominator only once. And we combine our numerators. So we have 6 minus x plus 3 plus 2 times x plus 3. Can you guess what is the next step? Distribute. So we have 6 minus x squared and then minus 3x. We distribute the 2x plus 6. And then do you have like terms? X squared is alone, so we keep it alone. And we have negative 3x, positive 2x. Positive or negative? That gives us negative x. And then we have 6 plus 6. That gives us positive 12. So we have negative x squared minus x plus 12 over x plus 3 bigger than 0. It's up to you what you want to do next. But what I would like to do next is I don't want my x squared to be negative. So we multiply all the numerators by -1. Because we don't like to have negative x squared. So we get positive x squared, positive x, and 12 becomes what? Negative. Denominator doesn't get affected because we only multiply the numerator, not the denominator. So keep our denominator, and we have 0. But what happens to the inequality? Flips. Anytime we multiply or divide by negative, inequality always flips. And now you know why. Because when 5 is bigger than 1, negative 5 becomes smaller than -1. So multiplying by negative flips the sign, the inequality. Our goal is to solve for x. So can you do something on the numerator? Factor. That will make our life easier. Can you think of two numbers multiplied to 12 combined to 1? X plus 4, x minus 3. 4 times 3 gives us 12. 4 minus 3 gives us 1. So we factored everything, and now finally we are at peace. because this looks much cleaner than the original equation they gave us. So this becomes our new inequality. So when we make a table, we test out the numbers. We're going to use this, not the original one. So we go to the top. And we get x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 3 equals 0. We go to the bottom. And we get x plus 3, which we don't want to be 0. So we have what? X equals negative 4, positive 3, and we don't want it to be negative 3. What we are looking for? Positive or negative? Negative. So let's see which of these intervals gives us negative outcome. Negative infinity, positive infinity. We have negative 4 from the top, negative 3 from the bottom, and positive 3 from the top. What would be the boundary for the numbers? Bracket or parentheses? Huh? Parentheses, because we don't have an equal sign. And everything will get parentheses because we don't have an equal sign yet. So denominator always get parentheses. So is infinity. But negative 4 and 3, this time they will also get parentheses because no equal sign. Okay, so we do the same thing 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Man. What number you want to pick? Negative 5. So negative 5 plus 4, negative 5 minus 3, negative 5 plus 3. And again, we don't care about the number, we care about the sign. Between 5 and 4, 5 is bigger, it is negative sign, so this is negative. Between 5 and 3, 5 is bigger, it is negative sign, so it will be negative. Between 5 and 3, 5 is bigger, it is negative sign, it will be negative. So don't waste your time doing the math, just observe the sign. We cancel one of the negative, we left with another negative. So can you take the first interval? Yep, this is what you're looking for. Something positive, something negative. And now I got lazy, okay? Actually, never mind, it's decimal, so let's do it. Between negative 3 and negative 4, there is no whole numbers. So,
We can take the whole.
negative 3 point anything. 3.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Anything. Let's take 3.1. No problem with that. So negative 3.1 plus 4, negative 3.1 minus 3, negative 3.1 plus 3. We do the same thing. Between 4 and 3.1, which one is bigger? 4 is a plus sign, so you're gonna get plus first. Between 3 and 3.1, which one is bigger? 3.1, right? It has 1 unit more. X is a negative, so our second one is negative. And again, between 3 and 3.1, 3.1 is bigger. It is a negative, it will be negative. Call, no phone. So we have plus, minus, and minus. We cancel minus again. But this time, what is our result? Plus. So can you take the second interval? Nope. For the rest, let me be lazy and do the work here. Mentally. Between -3 to +3, what number you want to pick? 0. So, 0 plus 4, what sign you have? Positive. 0 minus 3, what sign you have? Negative, right? 0 plus 3, what sign you have? Positive. So you have 2 positive, 1 negative. So positive, positive, 1 negative. What? Sorry, my bad. Positive, negative, and positive. I did the other way around. So you can cancel the positives. We left it negative. And again, you're happy because you're looking for negative. Then finally, we go to the next one. Anything bigger than 3, 4. And let's do that again. 4 plus 4. Positive, right? 4 minus 3. Positive. 4 plus 3. Positive. So we have all positive. Positive, positive, positive. So we cancel one of the positive, but still we left with another positive. Can you take the last interval? So what is our solution? From what to what? Negative infinity, -4, parentheses,
-3 to
-3, the +3 with the parentheses. Any question? How come it makes us so quiet? Is it because you're understanding everything or you're not understanding anything? Which one?
I'm tired.
I'm only one more question here.
I thought we couldn't use number 3.
That's why it's parentheses.
Yeah.
Whatever we cannot use means parentheses. Okay.
There's no bracket.
Because there is a equal sign. When you equal sign, we look for two things. Either less than 0 is negative or equal 0. Since it says find all the numbers that is strictly negative. So that's why we cannot even use -4 and 3. Because when it's -4, the whole expression is 0. But we cannot take 0. So it's always less than 0. Okay, you try the last one and then we'll go to the review and I'll tell you what will be in the exam. This is our last question. And let me take the attendance. Angel here, Stephanie here, Krishnali absent, Marielbis here, Chris absent, Cassandra here, Angie here, Parker absent, Tenzin here, Yaribel here, Neva. I saw you today. How you feeling, Neva? Better? Julia absent. Gavin here. Gerald here. Vansh here. Yvette here. Ryan here. Christian here. Ian here. Joe here. Janelle here. Dunhill here. Cole here. Isabella here. Dua absent. Nazima here. Zihong here. Matthew here. Chris with K absent. Cindy here. Melanie absent. Tony here. Shri absent. Jocelyn here. Jessica absent. So many absent. Already done? What do you have?
-7 infinite parentheses, -7 brackets, and parentheses 4 to 5 brackets.
Take your work again. Something is missing. As far as I remember, something is missing. What you're looking for here? So either strictly negative or equal 0. And are you done or you're thinking? Thinking? We don't have to do any math here. You can straight go for solving x because all the x's here are already factored. They don't have to factor anything. Oh,
You found it?
tell me what is your first step? Look at the example we just did. Compare the previous example with this one. The previous example we did not have all the factors. So first step, we did everything we could to factor them.
Yep.
And here it's already factored. So you're going to ignore all the things we did before until factoring.
Make sure what X is for.
X cannot equal 1. So x cannot equal what number? 4. Good. And from the top.
-7. 0, -5.
Good. So you have all the numbers you need. We still the number line. So when you don't have factors, we bring everything to one side so that you can factor them.
No.
Cannot be 0. So x cannot be what number? Huh?
Not before.
X cannot be what number? Four. Four.
So the business number one.
If it is. For a single number, it's curly bracket. If you have only one number, it's curly bracket. But if you have a set of numbers, it's bracket and parentheses.
It's separate by itself. Isn't the middle? Oh, yeah, that's a little bit of cryptocurrency. We did 2 units. Right?
How come I have two sides of the classroom? In one side, I have all the cooperative students. In the other side, I have all the tick students. They don't like to cooperate with one another. Why is that? Come on, guys. You guys are friends one another, right? How come you guys don't talk? If you talk, you will become friends. And trust me, when we're alone, we suffer more. When you talk with one another and you see other one is suffering even more, you feel better.
Suffer with that. Why do you like?
It is fun if you understand. Trust me, like I hate some math, like what is confusing or what is harder to understand. But I love math, the easy ones.
What's his statistic?
Statistic is different than
Yeah.
little bit different. I don't have to math anyway. Different types of math. You know, last time in the exam, this side of the group actually did better than this side of the group, this side of the classroom. So come on, guys. Talk with one another, be friends. Enjoy the class here. Enjoy your time. I could do some group work so that all of you are forced to something. Oh yeah. The problem is time. How much time? Are you ready?
No, wait.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is.
I just have to match. My God. Wait,
Okay, so I'm gonna sign.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
you,
like, you have to solve it.
maybe the dollar. Yeah, the exponent for like, oh, yeah, and that's what, that's good.
This is
You might have jumped back.
This portion right here.
Oh, because mine's just a zero.
Understand.
Yeah, no, I don't.
So you have, you know, it's.
Just ask me like split from there. When my brain is. No, no, and then I don't have the kids around.
So this is double, and what makes it equal to zero? When x is zero. What is x? So you are taking out the zero. I got this. Or when you equal to zero. So from this here, which and there will be one thing that is zero in the first. Okay, let's do it together. So remember, we are looking for something negative or something that makes us zero. So we get x squared 0, x plus 7 0, x minus 5 0, and x minus 4 not equal 0. We get x equals 0, negative 7, positive 5, and we don't want x to be 4. So we go to the number line. Negative infinity, positive infinity, negative 7, 0, 4, and 5. What number you want to pick that is smaller than negative 7? Negative 8. And let's do it mentally this time. Negative 8 squared, positive, right? Negative 8 plus 7, negative. Negative 8 minus 5, negative. Negative 8 minus 4, negative. So first one is positive, then we have negative, then we have negative, then we have negative. So what remains? And we are looking for negative. So we are going to take this in our interval. So in your exam, I want to see all of this. This math, if you want to do it mentally, I don't care, I can do it mentally. But I definitely want to see those symbols. What do you get after you do them mentally?
Just the symbols is enough, right?
Huh?
Just the symbols is enough. Without the number.
Enough, as long as you tell me what x value you chose, so I can check where did you make the mistake. If you're not correct. So what number you only pick between 0 and negative 7? Negative 1. So we have negative 1 square, positive. Then we have negative 1 plus 7. 7 is bigger, it is a plus sign. Then we have negative 1 minus 5. 5 is bigger, it is a negative sign. So it's negative. Negative 1 minus 4. 4 is bigger, it is a negative sign. So it must be negative. We cancel one negative. What left? Positive. Are you looking for positive? Paul. What do you mean by one positive, one negative?
Like plus, minus, minus, minus,
Plus times minus. So you left it minus. See here. Plus times minus. This is what left. So you left it minus.
so the minus will.
Minus is the final answer. All of these we are multiplying and dividing. What number you want to pick between 0 to 4? 1. So let's do this again with 1. 1 square is positive, right? Anything square is positive. 1 plus 7, positive. 1 minus 5. 5 is bigger, it is a negative sign, so this is minus. Here we have 1 minus 4. 4 is bigger, it is a negative sign. Negative. We cancel the negative. What remains? Positive. So can you take this interval? No. But observe what happens when x is 0. When x is 0, this whole expression becomes 0. And it says, give us all the numbers that give you either the negative or equals 0. So even though we cannot take any number from negative 7 to 4, none of them give us positive, so none of them give us negative, but there is only one number that gives us 0. So in this interval, we take only one single number. Now let me erase all of this again. We go to our next interval. Between 4 and 5. 4.5. Anything square is positive, so definitely this is positive. We have 4.5 plus 7. Positive. We have 4.5 minus 5. Negative because 5 is bigger. Finally, on the denominator, 4.5 minus 4. Positive because 4.5 is bigger. So you cancel one positive, and if you multiply a positive with a negative, here, what do you get? Negative. So can you take this interval? Yep. Here's what you're looking for. Oh, and 4 we cannot take because 40 is, we got it from the denominator. And finally, the last one, I don't have space, so let me do it here. Between 5 to infinity. What number you want to pick between 5 to infinity? 6. And let me do it here also. 6 plus 7. Positive, right? 6 minus 5. Positive. On the bottom, we have 6 minus 4. Positive. We cancel one positive. We left with 2 positive. What's the answer? Positive. So can you take this interval? So by observing our number line, what is our solution? Bracket, curly bracket, 0. But you got 4 from the denominator. So 4 has to get parentheses.
I wanted to ask you where is it that we decide about the denominator? So if we can't use 4 in the denominator,
So-
even with the bracket, we put in the parentheses. Okay.
So denominator never can get bracket. Denominator is always parentheses. Numerator can get bracket, but denominator and infinity always parentheses. And it's because you cannot use 4 on the denominator.
So we still have an equivalent solution. We can't have
It says if you're allowed to take anything from 4 to 5, but you cannot take 4.
So that's why.
Parentheses.
And then the 5 gets a bracket because it's included, but it stops at 5.
We are taking 5 because when 5 is here, 5 minus 5 is 0, 0 times anything is 0. And you're looking for what makes something 0. Thus, we're allowed to use 5 as bracket.
I thought the bracket was for when the number is not included.
The other way around. 5 bracket is for allowed. Parentheses is for not allowed. So let me write it down. Parentheses means not allowed to use the number for x. Bracket means allowed to use the number. Any question? My question? With this, you're done with all the materials you need for your exam 2. So exam 2 will be based on chapter 11. Everything on chapter 11 except the word problems. So let me tell you in the review sheet. Oh, sorry, you're not done. No, my bad. Take your time, no problem. Huh? My point is to give one of these rational, but I will let you have a choice whether you do it or get the points or for that extra. And the rationale will have something like this singleton. So one, not rational, the normal polynomial, the normal parabola, one will be parabola, one will be rational. but you're allowed to choose which one you want to do. If you pick, one of them is real number, you must do it, and one of them is exception. Either you want to do it or you don't want to do it. It's extra credit.
Maybe it's one where you haven't been factoring this usually.
That's curious. I didn't know that is on it. But the thing is, in the final exam, they actually don't give factors. They give the other one. So I want to give the other one. So you have your practice with the final exam. Okay, now let me go to,
Thank you.
no problem, review sheet. So I already posted the review sheet on Brightface a long time ago, and I already mentioned the link. All you have to do is click on the link and it will take you to the website.
What?
To our playlist to see all the videos where we went over all these questions. Okay, so I'm not going to do a review in this class because we don't have time, but with my morning class, I want to do a very thorough review, okay? It was yesterday, I'm going to post the video today, and I'm going to send you the link. So watch the recording for review, and you'll know what to do for every question. So for question 1, I will ask one of them. Solve for x. You can ignore the calculator one because you're not allowed to use any calculator. So from ABC, there will be one where either you're going to use complete the square method or quadratic formula, whichever you prefer. Definitely one of these where you have something with irrational or rational, you have to distinguish them. Do you remember what is irrational and rational? You do?
Can you help with this one? The answer is B, right?
The answer is B. Yep. So irrational is something, that number. If that number is not a perfect square, then it's irrational. Okay? Under the square root, if you don't have a perfect square number, it's irrational. But if that number is a perfect square, then it's rational. It means if you don't have a square root with the number, it's rational. But if you cannot simplify the number inside the square root, it's irrational. So this example says we have 45 under the root. Discriminant is what we have under the root. So x is negative b plus minus square root of 45 divided by 2a. Is 45 a perfect square number? No. So it tells us that we have an irrational number. And also 45 is a real number. So it's not imaginary solution. It's a real solution. And plus minus means how many solutions we have? 1 or 2? 2. So plus minus tells us we have 2 solutions. This tells us we have an irrational real solution. So 2 irrational solutions.
What if it was plus minus the square root of negative 45?
Then it will be 2 imaginary irrational solutions. Okay, now the next one says use the discriminant, just the discriminant, and figure out how many solutions you're going to get, what type, real or imaginary, and what can you tell about your x interval. So from question 3, there will be 3, because discriminant tells us 3 types of scenarios. Based on each type, you're going to do one of them. So it will be one question with 3 parts. To make your life easier, I'm going to ask you only about the 4th degree polynomial. So 1 from 4th power. You can ignore the other 3. Question 4 will combine with question 8. 4 and 8, they have the same concept. Here, from this, you have to do 1. And do you remember another one we did before, something like x squared minus 1, x plus 1, and then x minus 1. We did something like this in class. So there will be one of these. But I intend to do this as extra credit.
Is that what we said, one side put a 0 and then we make them all have the same value?
So one of these will be extra credit. And then 1 from the triangles. Most likely something like this one because it came just last semester. I know. A square plus b square equals c square. You bring everything to one side, you factor, and then you solve. There will be no calculator question. From inequality, 1 without the denominator, only the parabolas. 1 with the denominator, but I intend to do this as an extra credit.
So that's what we did now.
See how nice I am? I'm telling you what will be as an extra credit. I actually didn't want to tell you, but I was like, I don't want to stress you out. So I'm telling you everything. And from 1 and 2, there will be 1 where you're going to find vertex, axis of symmetry, x-intercept, y-intercept graph, and tell us whether you're maximum or minimum. Finally, 1 transformation. And then from 10 and 11, 1. Either I'll give you the description and tell you to find the equation of the line, so equation of the parabola, or I will give you the graph and tell you find the equation of the parabola. They are the same concept. You just need the vertex and any point from the graph. So I went over these questions yesterday in my video. You'll find them. I actually went over most of the questions here yesterday. So if you want to see that their solution is inside your notebook. I went through every question in class, most of them, and I went through most of the questions yesterday with my morning class. And you're going to ignore all of this. You don't need to do any of this, no word problems, no calculator. So just all of this. Okay? So don't do late, guys. Good luck with your exam. You too. Bye. And study smart instead of studying hard.